In modern society, we are often taught that discipline is the deciding factor in achieving success and power. From early lessons in family, school, to self-help books and success coaches, all affirm that discipline is the golden key to achieving goals. Discipline is the foundation of success. This is the familiar advice we hear from many people. However, there is one thing that few realize. Discipline does not always bring strength. On the contrary, it can sometimes become a limiting factor. While discipline helps create stability, maintain habits, and achieve goals, it can easily lead to rigidity and a lack of flexibility. This inflexibility can stifle creativity and hinder the ability to adjust strategies in ever-changing situations. So why is discipline considered overrated? The reason is simple. Discipline is not the only factor determining success. On the contrary, in many cases, flexibility in thought and action is the core factor that helps people achieve lasting power. This becomes even more evident in the context of a constantly changing world, where those who are flexible and willing to adapt to new circumstances are the ones who are most successful and powerful. This article will explain why discipline can sometimes be a limiting factor, and explore the importance of freedom and flexibility in thought and action. While discipline can yield short-term results, true and lasting power can only come from the ability to change, create, and adapt flexibly to every situation. 1. Discipline and control. Invisible barriers. Discipline is considered an essential factor in the journey towards success in modern society. It is regarded as one of the fundamental principles of personal development. From educational foundations to career advancement, from a young age, we are taught that to succeed, we need to follow rules, adhere to principles, and stay committed to the goals we set. This is not wrong, as discipline is the strength that helps us maintain progress, meet deadlines, and build good habits. But is discipline truly the only factor that helps us achieve our goals? From Western to Eastern cultures, discipline has always been revered as a valuable quality. In the workplace, discipline and self-control may be prerequisites for advancing in a career. Companies and businesses are always looking for individuals who can adhere to time schedules, maintain discipline in their work, and persevere with their tasks. In fact, following processes and completing tasks on schedule is an indispensable factor in every profession, from office employees to senior managers. However, when we focus too much on discipline, a major problem can arise: a lack of flexibility. An individual who is too rigid in adhering to principles and plans can become immobile in a constantly changing world, unable to adjust or modify when facing unforeseen situations. And that is when we fall into the trap of excessive discipline, trapping ourselves in a framework that prevents growth or creativity. Rigid discipline, a trap of inflexibility. The process of self-development through discipline can become a double-edged sword. When discipline is applied too strictly, it can limit the ability to think and act freely. In modern society, the continuous changes in technology, society, and the work environment require people to be flexible, creative, and able to adapt quickly. But if an individual is overly bound by predefined principles, they will struggle to keep up with change. In fact, maintaining discipline can make people hesitant to experiment, afraid to break the rules, and thus lose opportunities for breakthroughs and growth. Imagine an entrepreneur running a startup. At first, he builds the company based on a detailed plan, sticking to a strict schedule and never changing the goals. However, in the volatile startup world, new opportunities can arise unexpectedly. Sticking rigidly to the predefined plans could cause him to miss these change opportunities that could bring significant benefits. Wise leaders, on the other hand, are those who can quickly adjust their plans, change directions, and make strategic decisions in unexpected situations. Over-control and creative thinking. An important aspect to note is that excessive self-control can paralyze creative thinking. When we set too many rules and limitations on how we act, it leads to closed thinking and a lack of creative freedom. A person with strict discipline can easily lose creativity because they focus too much on maintaining stability and avoiding any changes. They concentrate too much on pursuing goals and plans without giving themselves the space to experiment, learn from failure, and improve. Creativity, on the other hand, only truly develops when individuals are free to think and act without being constrained by rigid principles and rules. A study in the field of creative psychology shows that the most creative individuals are those who are not hindered by the fear of mistakes and failure. They frequently experiment and accept failure as part of the learning and growth process. When someone is free to come up with new ideas without fearing negative consequences, they will achieve breakthroughs that others cannot imagine. A clear example of this is the story of Steve Jobs, the founder of Apple. Jobs was famous for his ability to break the rules and never be confined by conventional business principles. He was not just a leader who followed old business principles. He was someone who dared to experiment and change strategies when necessary. It was this flexibility in thinking and ability to change in different situations that helped Jobs create breakthrough products that no one had imagined. Discipline and creativity in art and design, rigid discipline, can also be a limiting factor in creative fields such as art, design, and scientific research. In these fields, creativity and innovation are always considered the most important factors for success. Artists and designers often face challenges that require them to break free from frameworks, experiment, and create entirely new ideas. However, if they focus too much on discipline and control, they can become bound by established principles and cannot move beyond them. A prominent study from Harvard University showed that in creative environments, successful individuals are those who are not confined by rigid rules, but have the ability to innovate by breaking current rules and changing the way they approach problems. These individuals can freely express themselves without worrying about adhering to a specific model. While discipline can help them maintain progress, constant experimentation and challenging existing boundaries are what drive their development. In this first section, we see that discipline and control can become invisible barriers, not only limiting creative abilities, but also hindering the ability to adapt and change in a continuously changing environment. While discipline helps people maintain stability and complete tasks, flexibility and freedom of thought are often the decisive factors in achieving long-term and sustainable success. 2. Flexibility in thought and action, the key to lasting power. In a constantly changing world, true power does not come from rigid persistence, but from the ability to be flexible and adapt. Lasting power can only be achieved when individuals know when to stand firm and when to adjust their strategies. If you always stick to a set plan without changing it according to circumstances, you will easily become rigid, difficult to change, and ineffective in work, relationships, and all aspects of life. Flexibility in thought, the power of creativity and innovation. Flexibility in thought is not only the ability to think creatively, but also the ability to change perspectives, adjust thinking, and modify the approach to problems in order to deal with new and difficult situations. Those who are flexible in thought have the ability to see problems from various angles without being constrained by old patterns. When facing a problem, they don't just use one method, but instead can change their approach and look for new solutions, even unexpected ones. One of the most important factors of flexibility in thought is the ability to accept uncertainty. Flexible individuals are not afraid to admit they don't know everything. They understand that change is an inevitable part of life. When you are flexible in thought, you will easily accept and learn from changes, thereby improving your strategies to cope with an ever-changing environment. For example, in the business world, Elon Musk, CEO of Tesla and SpaceX, is one of the individuals who exemplify outstanding flexible thinking. Musk never stops changing, experimenting, and improving his strategies. Despite failures and difficulties during the development process, Musk never becomes rigid and continues adjusting his strategies to fit the circumstances. For Tesla, instead of focusing solely on electric vehicle production, Musk expanded into other technologies such as renewable energy and energy storage systems, helping the company become a symbol of innovation. Flexibility in thought also helps us overcome our limitations and reach capabilities we never thought possible. When people know how to change their perspective, they can discover new paths and develop breakthrough ideas. It is this flexibility that helps them not only maintain power, but also build a sustainable career. Flexibility in action, the ability to adjust and adapt to situations. Flexibility in action can be understood as the ability to change one's way of acting to suit specific situations, especially when facing changes or surprises. In business and life, those who are flexible in action can seize unexpected opportunities and overcome difficulties without being restrained by rigid plans or principles. When should you persist and when should you give up? This is an important question that successful individuals must always answer throughout their lives. Flexible individuals know when to persist and when to change direction. Sometimes persistence is necessary, but sometimes it's just a trap, causing you to continue pursuing strategies that no longer work. In fact, the ability to abandon old strategies and change tactics when needed is one of the key signs of strategic intelligence and effective leadership. For example, Jeff Bezos, founder of Amazon, is one of the individuals who truly understands the importance of flexibility in action. Originally, Amazon started as an online bookstore, but Bezos quickly realized that this business model could be expanded into a global e-marketplace. Instead of continuing to sell just books, he changed the strategy and turned Amazon into a platform with millions of different products. It was this flexibility in action that helped Amazon become one of the most influential companies in the world. In addition to abandoning ineffective strategies, flexibility in action also includes the ability to pivot immediately when the situation demands it. In crises, or when facing challenges, flexible individuals do not hesitate but adjust their strategies immediately to survive and grow. This not only helps them maintain power, but also creates a competitive advantage over others. Flexibility helps maintain power during difficult times. Lasting power is not just about maintaining control in favorable situations, but also about the ability to overcome difficulties and challenges without weakening. During tough times, flexible individuals can adjust their strategies to overcome obstacles. They understand that it is not always possible to hold on to what has been achieved. And sometimes, flexibility is the key factor that helps them rise above in organizations, especially large organizations. True power is maintained by the ability to adapt to change and create a flexible working environment. Successful leaders not only need the ability to maintain power during stable times, but also need to deal with unexpected situations, such as financial crises, changes in legal regulations, or shifts in customer needs and demands. For example, Howard Schultz, founder of Starbucks, is one of the leaders who demonstrated the ability to maintain lasting power through flexibility in action. When Starbucks faced financial difficulties in the late 2000s, Schultz returned to the company and implemented a new strategy to overhaul the entire business process. Instead of relying only on coffee shops, he expanded Starbucks into an experience hub with new services, improved product quality, and launched creative marketing strategies to attract customers. This flexibility in action helped Starbucks overcome tough times and become a global brand. Flexibility in action, the decisive factor in leadership. In leadership roles, flexibility is an essential quality. A leader needs to be able to make quick decisions, change strategies when necessary, and know when to abandon an ineffective strategy. No strategy is universally correct in every situation. True leadership is the ability to make sound decisions in any circumstance, even when that situation is a challenge. The key to lasting power is the combination of persistence and flexibility. Persistence helps maintain long-term goals, but flexibility allows us to change our approach to achieve those goals. A leader who is persistent but not flexible will easily fall into stagnation and inefficiency. Meanwhile, a flexible leader knows when to change in order to continue growing and maintaining power. In part 2, we have delved into the essential elements of flexibility in thought and action. From adjusting strategies to understanding and responding to the changing environment, flexibility is not only the necessary condition to maintain power in favorable situations, but also the decisive factor in overcoming challenges and crises. Therefore, flexibility is the key to building lasting power in any field. 3. Discipline can paralyze the ability to be free. Discipline, a virtue that society often considers a deciding factor in success, brings many clear benefits. It helps maintain habits, create stability, and ensures that we complete tasks on time. However, when discipline is applied too strictly, it can not only stifle creativity, but also paralyze the ability to be free, the key element that helps individuals develop and innovate. In fact, in some situations, the lack of freedom in action and thought due to excessive discipline can cause us to miss out on great opportunities and hinder long-term growth. Discipline can keep us on track and create stability in daily tasks. But if we become too dependent on it, we get trapped in frameworks that require creativity, innovation, and the ability to change quickly, such as business, art, or technology. When creativity is limited by principles, human thinking becomes rigid, leading to missed opportunities. Strict discipline limits creativity and innovation. In a world full of constant change, if we only follow the principles and rules that have been set in advance, we may miss opportunities for growth and change. Excessive discipline will make us too rigid, unable to change or adjust when new factors emerge. Those who focus solely on following rules might overlook creativity and fail to recognize when to change their strategy to adapt to a changing environment. In the business context, adhering to a strict plan can cause the loss of innovative opportunities that the world is always ready to embrace. A plan or strategy that is successful today may no longer be effective in the future. This is why those who achieve long-term success are the ones who are not afraid to change strategies, who are willing to experiment with new methods and break the rules when necessary. A clear example of this is the story of Steve Jobs and Elon Musk, two of the most famous entrepreneurs today. Neither of these individuals adhered to a fixed plan or strategy forever. Instead, they were always willing to adjust their strategies as situations demanded. Steve Jobs not only created products, but he also created entire industries, changing the way we perceive and use technology. His company, Apple, was not simply a tech product company, but a symbol of innovation, creativity, and breaking old rules. Jobs once said, "You can't connect the dots looking forward. You can only connect them looking backwards." This reflects his flexibility in thinking, always ready to change and change the world. Elon Musk, founder of Tesla and SpaceX, is also a perfect example of change and creativity that goes beyond boundaries. Musk is not just a business executive. He has changed the automotive and space industries. Musk accepts challenges and failures. But the key is that he does not hesitate to adjust his strategy when facing difficulties. Instead of confining himself to a single business model, Musk is flexible in changing methods to achieve long-term goals. Flexibility in thought and action, breaking the rules to grow. The theory of flexibility in thinking has been proven through many studies in psychology. Creative psychology suggests that those who are highly creative are the ones who can easily change their approach to problems. They are not bound by old ways of doing things. Instead, they can adjust their methods to suit new situations. Creative individuals understand that experimentation and breaking the rules is sometimes the only way to achieve true breakthroughs. Successful people are not those who know how to follow principles. They are the ones who recognize when they need to break the rules in order to grow. Flexibility in thinking is essential to recognizing opportunities when they arise and changing strategies when necessary. A classic example of this can be seen in scientists or inventors. Thomas Edison, the inventor of the electric light bulb, had to experiment thousands of times before successfully creating the light bulb. He was not hindered by initial failures. Instead, he used those failures to continue adjusting and experimenting. Creativity in art also requires flexibility. Famous artists, painters, and musicians like Pablo Picasso or Mozart did not just follow traditional art rules, but broke them to create works with their own personal imprint. Picasso, with his unique cubist style, changed the entire way people perceived art and creativity. In music, Mozart did not just compose according to a formula, but created compositions with a blend of classical and modern elements, helping to usher in a new era in classical music. Excessive discipline can paralyze the ability to innovate, while discipline can help create stability and persistence in work. When applied too strictly, it can paralyze the ability to change and innovate. This is particularly evident in environments that require continuous innovation and the ability to adapt to change, such as in tech companies, startup projects, or creative industries. Excessive discipline traps individuals into a specific mold, preventing them from seeing new opportunities. Sometimes, a strategy or method that has proven successful in the past may no longer be effective in the present context. Those who achieve lasting success are not only those who accept change, but also those who proactively create change to adapt to an ever-changing environment. Flexibility. The key to sustainable success. Flexibility in thought and action is essential for maintaining power and long-term success. It not only helps you recognize and seize opportunities, but also helps you stand firm in times of crisis. When others around you are still struggling with old rules, you can seize the opportunity and change your strategy to achieve success. In fact, creative and successful people are not those who follow every rule strictly. They are the ones who dare to experiment, break the rules, and create a difference. It is this flexibility that helps them not only maintain influence, but also build a strong, sustainable empire. In this third section, the article emphasizes that excessive discipline can hinder creativity and the ability to change, while flexibility in thought and action is a decisive factor that helps individuals achieve sustainable success. Those who achieve long-term success are not the ones who follow a rigid plan, but those who know when to break the rules to create change and growth. Life is full of changes, challenges, and opportunities. Those who can navigate success are not the ones who simply follow a fixed plan or pursue rigid discipline, but rather those who are flexible, willing to change when necessary, and embrace creativity as an essential part of their journey. To achieve lasting power, you need not only persistence, but also the ability to know when to let go of excessive control, when to adjust, and when to break the rules that have been created. Remember that flexibility in thought and action is the decisive factor that helps you move forward in this ever-changing world. Every failure is a lesson. Every experiment is an opportunity to grow and evolve. No strategy is perfect forever, and no principle is universally correct in every situation. Power comes not only from persistence, but also from the ability to innovate, from the freedom to create, and from the ability to change when needed. So, what do you need to do? Develop flexible thinking. Open yourself to new ideas. Change direction when necessary. And don't be afraid to experiment. When you dare to change, you open up a world of opportunities you never imagined. Learn to let go of rigid control. Let yourself experiment and don't fear failure. Remember that failure is just part of the learning and growth process. It is through failure that you will find the path that leads to success. Create space for creativity. Don't let discipline and control paralyze your creative abilities. Be free, open-minded, and always seek new ways of doing things. Creativity will be the key to building lasting power and thriving in a competitive environment. And just as important, here's what you should not do. Don't confine yourself to the framework of discipline. Without recognizing the changes around you, life is constantly changing, and excessive discipline can make you miss valuable opportunities. Don't be afraid of change or taking risks. Flexibility is the element that helps you maintain power, allowing you to adjust strategies when needed and avoid being left behind. Finally, remember that true power is not something you can grasp by adhering to rigid rules. It comes from the ability to change, from the freedom to create, and from flexibility in action. In a world full of challenges and fluctuations, flexibility and creativity will always be the key to maintaining lasting power and rising above all. So, what are you waiting for? Start breaking those rigid rules, experiment, and create today. Success and power are waiting for you ahead.